Welcome to Study Loop.
So, for this question, there are two important things that we must take into account. The first thing is that the tax is levied on the buyer and not the seller, and this will have implications. The second thing that is of importance is the fact that we know that the number of tickets are fixed at 38,000, as the question clearly mentions that the number of seats are fixed and limited at 38,000. This also has implications. The implication of this is that the supply curve is fixed. It's a vertical line. It's what's known as perfectly inelastic. Now, because the tax is levied on the buyer and not the seller, the implication of this is that the demand curve will be affected, not the supply curve. So we can represent this with our usual demand and supply schedule, where on the y-axis we have the price of the tickets, and on the x-axis we have the quantity of tickets. So as I said, the supply curve is perfectly inelastic, which means it's a vertical line that is fixed at 38,000 as specified by the question. So we can draw that like this, and that's fixed at 38,000, and that's our supply curve. The demand curve is regular and downward sloping. So at this point of intersection, we have the original equilibrium price P before the tax was implemented. Now, as I said, the tax is affecting the buyer, so the demand curve will be affected. With a higher price, there's going to be lower demand, so the demand curve is going to shift leftwards. So this shifts to D1. And as you can see, the equilibrium price is now lower, P1. Now this difference between P and P1 is equal to $5. Now, with regards to who takes the burden of the tax on, the burden of the tax for the buyer is exactly $0, and the burden of the tax for the seller, which is the Red Sox in this particular instance, is the full $5. The reason for this is that the Red Sox are unable to alter the supply of tickets, as it's clearly mentioned that the supply is fixed at 38,000. So even if the price changes, supply stays fixed. Therefore, they will end up absorbing the entire tax via lower ticket prices. As we can see in my diagram, there's a lower equilibrium price from P to P1, and this is how, via the lower prices, this is how the supplier, or the seller, sorry, in this case, is absorbing the entire tax via these lower ticket prices. The consumers are paying the same price as before. They're still paying P after the tax is levied, so their burden is $0.